Sing naturally. There comes the
I already have one. He already has one. We'll take one for Tom.
Good morning. Welcome to the Auburn Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, located on occupied ancestral land of the Muscogee Nation and housed in a building constructed by free, formerly enslaved African Americans. My name is Gary LaRude, and I'm pleased to be your service associate today. We welcome you. We know you come here for different reasons: to find community, to seek your spiritual and personal truths, to question, to nurture your heart and soul, to be nurtured, to explore new ideas, to find comfort, and perhaps to find the answers to some of your bigger questions. We welcome you. We know you come from different places, different religions, different beliefs, and different backgrounds. We hope you will find comfort, connection, challenge, and love here. We hope you will find ways to provide outreach to others in our congregation, in our local community, and in our world community. On behalf of the members of the fellowship, I extend a special welcome to all visitors who are joining us for the first time, and to those of you who still feel like visitors. If you have not already done so, please fill out our visitor book at the front near the greeters, or digitally by visiting auuf.org/visitor. You may also contact our minister, Reverend Chris Rothbauer, at minister@auuf.org, with any questions or concerns that you might have. To keep up with the activities of this community, you can check the AUUF website, sign up for our email news, and check for any announcements that may be printed on the back of the order of service. We'll also have a time for spoken announcements at the end of today's service. As we prepare for our service this morning, please remember to turn your phone to silent, as well as any other electronic devices. Now let us move into the service, willing to be authentic with each other, honest within ourselves, and open to connection in all its forms.
Our opening words this morning are from Barbara Sheehan. It is a good morning to be together. When winter's darkness spreads across the land and cold seeps through our thickest coats, we hurry here, drawn by the warmth of faces familiar and new to the welcoming walls of this house. Here, for this hour, we open ourselves to new understanding, reassurance, and hope. For this is a place where truth, love, and challenge meet. Welcome. It is a good morning to be together.
On the first night of Hanukkah, someone sent to me a warm bagel topped with cream cheese. On the second night of Hanukkah, someone sent to me 2 matzo balls and a warm bagel topped with cream cheese. On the third night of Hanukkah, someone sent to me
3 golden latkes,
2 matzo balls and a warm bagel topped with cream cheese. On the fourth night of Hanukkah, someone sent to me
4 pounds of corned beef, 3 golden latkes,
2 matzo balls and a warm bagel topped with cream cheese. On the fifth night of Hanukkah, someone sent to me 5 kosher dills.
4 pounds of corned beef, 3 golden latkes, 2 matzo balls,
And a warm bagel topped with cream cheese. On the sixth night of Hanukkah, someone sent to me 6 Bubby's cookie, 5 kosher dills.
4 pounds of corned beef, 3 golden latkes, 2 matzo balls,
And a warm bagel topped with cream cheese. On the seventh night of Hanukkah, we rested. No. Someone sent to me
7 rabbis dancing, 6 Bubby's cooking,
5 kosher dills.
4 pounds of corned beef, 3 golden latkes, 2 matzo balls,
And a warm bagel topped with cream cheese. On the eighth night of Hanukkah, someone sent to me 8 fiddlers fiddling, 7 rabbis dancing, 6 breadless cooking, 5 kosher dills. 4 pounds of corned beef, 3 golden latkes, 2 matzo balls, and a warm bagel topped with cream cheese.
We light our chalice this morning with these words from Maureen Killeran. This solstice day, in honor of ancient traditions that celebrate this time of longest night, we observe that the flaming chalice holds the elements of the 4 directions: earth, air, fire, water. The lamp oil for earth, the air that feeds the flame, the fire we light, and the chalice itself, the cup, the symbol of water. We light our chalice and reflect on the light we need to guide us through hard times, the light of our shared faith, the light of loving community, the light of love, joy, and hope. And as is our tradition, we also light a candle in solidarity with those families who are separated at our southern border. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit for our opening hymn, number 55 in the gray hymnal, Dark of Winter.
We will render this as written.
He's off. One of the ways that we proclaim the warmth and caring of our community is by sharing our joys, concerns, and milestones. If you are joining us virtually this morning, we invite you to type your joy, concern, or milestone in the YouTube chat box during the music for meditation. We invite those here to, one at a time, drop a pebble into our communal bowl during the music for meditation. Spoken joys and concerns will follow the music. If you have a joy, concern, or milestone you'd like to share with us this morning, I invite you to come to the front and briefly share it into the microphone. And to help maintain social distancing, please don't line up. Rather, come forward after the last person has left the microphone. Conrad.
know if you noticed, I have a cane. And I'm now launched on a new path of dialysis. And so that's my announcement. Not much.
Worth a lot.
Any other announcements spoken this morning? If not, thank you, Conrad, for sharing your milestone. We want to say, may all the joys, concerns, and milestones of this community, those shared aloud and those held in silence, be received into the care and concern of all present. Every Sunday during Advent, we've woven the lighting of the wreath into our worship life. Advent comes from the Latin verb advenire, which means to draw near. By lighting one more candle on our Advent wreath each week, we make visible our spirit of waiting, of expectation.
The first candle we lit in the name of hope, not just what we long for, but our trust for the best within us to rise and to grace the many endings and beginnings in our lives. We lit the second candle in the name of peace, the courage to soften and cultivate our ability to stay present in difficult moments. We lit the third candle in the name of joy, the abiding faith that joy unfolds whenever we're able to enter and consent to the practice of opening to possibility. This morning, we light the fourth candle of our Advent wreath in the name of love, as an invitation to the holy to dwell within us, deepening our capacity to love and to be watchful of love's presence among us. May we open to love that awaits us in the weeks to come. As we prepare to bring new possibilities to life, may love guide us and be a creating force in our lives. Peace. Joy.
Today is the lighting of the first candle of Hanukkah, which goes on for about 8 days. So my daughter will help me with the service here. It's my voice isn't very good, so I just wet my whistle, so maybe it'll work better. I'll sing the three brachas, and Catherine, after each one, will tell us what I said in English. So, here we go. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvoso, v'tzivanu b'hadli ner shel Chanukah.
Hold that, just hold it for me. Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who hast sanctified us by thy commandments and commanded us to kindle the light of Hanukkah.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvoso, v'tzivanu b'hadli ner shel Chanukah. I'll repeat.
You want to do this second one?
Okay. The can. Which one?
This one.
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa nisim l'avoseinu b'yomim ha'im b'zman hazeh.
Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who wrought us miracles for our fathers in days of old at this season.
I think. Okay. Baruch Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa nisim l'avoseinu b'yomim ha'im b'zman hazeh.
You want to do this one? This is Vicky.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa Shehechionu v'kimonu v'hilionu b'zman hazeh.
Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who hast kept us in life and hast preserved us and enabled us to reach this season.
So happy Hanukkah,
Happy
and we brought some Hanukkah guilt. I always say guilt, but that does, I guess that works.
Too much of it, I guess. Leave it up here.
Leave it up here, and then I will put it over at the coffee.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that tradition to us. We now turn to our moment for all ages, today led by our coordinator of religious exploration, Angela Farley.
Come on up. We have some beautiful art today, and if you will see it, you'll have to come up here. Contrary to what the schedule says, I don't actually have two birthdays, and so today we're going to be talking about midsummer. Or midwinter, not midsummer, midwinter. Okay, so, oh, thank you. Turn it on.
Press the button.
The button. Today we're going to talk about midwinter. It's the story of the Holly King and the Oak King. And we talked about it a little bit last year. Do you remember when I showed you this? Y'all can come over here. Come up closer. You don't remember that? Okay, well, it's fine, because you don't have to remember it. There's no test. But this is a story. So this is where we're from, and this is a story that comes from all the way over here in Ireland. Okay? So in Celtic mythology, there's a light spring king who disguises himself as a robin, and his twin brother, the dark spring king, who disguises himself as a wren. Okay? Ever seen them? Some stories call them the Holly King and the Oak King. Everybody's seen that guy before, right? Every year at the winter and summer solstices, these twin brothers fight to be in charge. Remember that when we had like the cutouts of the two kings that were fighting with each other? It was a year ago, so, you know, that was a long time ago.
I think I wasn't even at church that day.
Maybe. So one brother was the king of the forces of activity, life, light, and warmth. He wore a crown made of green oak branches and brought with him all that is growth and vitality, fertility, and abundance. And he was called the Oak King. His brother was the king of the forces of rest, death, cold, and darkness. He wore a crown made of prickly holly branches and brought with him all that is withering and decay, stillness and hibernation. He was called the Holly King. The two brothers were identical in strength, and so year after year the same pattern was repeated. Beginning at the winter solstice, the Oak King would gradually grow strong and mighty, and during his time of dominance, the light would slowly increase day by day, bringing with it warmth and abundance. But each year, at the height of his power, at the summer solstice, he would be thrown down by the Holly King. In the wake of the Holly King's victory, the light would gradually wane, and so it did. Cold would come, and the land would go dormant. What does dormant mean? Like sleeping. That's a really good way of putting it. Thank you. But at the height of the Holly King's power, at each winter solstice, he would be challenged again by the Oak King, and the cycle would repeat again and again and again. This is where we are now, in the calendar, right? Approaching the time when the Holly King will be defeated, and the Oak King can again start to bring the warmth and light to our land. And this is a cause for celebration, is it not? Alone, the brothers were equals. But then the humans who watched the cycles of the two brothers fighting began to take sides. Humans loved light and warmth. They also feared darkness and cold, so each year they would celebrate the victory of the Oak King at midwinter, and each year they would mourn the victory of the Holly King at midsummer. Time went by, and the people's adoration of warmth and light grew, and they began to invent new ways to find light in the darkness and warmth in the cold. Eventually, if they wanted to, they could spend all of their time in the light they had created, and they could be warm all year long, just like we are now. But their efforts to stay always in the light and warmth were not without consequence. Good job. Generation passed and generations passed again. The people didn't notice the shift in the balance at first, but finally they couldn't ignore it anymore. The people began to notice that the darkness was disappearing from the land. It had been driven out by millions of lights that had created. Soon they saw it was not just darkness that was disappearing. Cold began to flee too. The whole world started getting warmer. Summer began sooner and lasted longer. Ice that had been frozen far longer than the longest memory of the oldest person in the land began to melt. Migrating birds and animals began to be confused about when it was time to migrate. Plants found themselves rooted in climates that no longer supplied their needs. The air was changing and beginning to flow in unexpected directions, causing drought and flood. The people began to see that their support of warmth and light over cold and darkness had altered the balance of the whole world.
Next up, 1 and 2.
Yeah, that was a line that I couldn't move. Stuck there. Slowly they began to realize that the Holly King was dying. For the first time, this thought filled them with fear. What would happen if the balance continued to be destroyed? Could they survive in a world without the Holly King? The Oak King realized that they had been competitors for all time. He also knew that he loved his brother deeply and that he couldn't live without him. 1 year, many years later, the winter solstice came, and the Oak King and the Holly King met again. But this time, the Oak King refused to fight. He put down his weapons and his shield, and he went open-handed to his brother, who was struggling to stay on his feet. He said, "I am the Oak King. I bring life to death, warmth to cold, and light to dark. I am as strong and as green as the mighty oak. My days are long and merry. I am all that is growth, activity, and vitality. And you are my much-loved brother."
Oh, that's sweet, isn't it?
Yeah. The Holly King replied, "I am the Holly King. I bring death to life, cold to warmth, and dark to light. I am as everlasting and as evergreen as the hardy holly. My days are short and restful, and I am all that is hidden. I am respite and renewal." What's respite? It's like how you feel after you take a nap. Like you just feel better after you've rested for a little while. Yeah, relief, that's a good one, yeah. "I am here, my much-loved brother, to take my crown and give you rest." So that's the story of how the Holly King and the Oak King stopped fighting and started celebrating the solstices. They did this to show people that both dark and light are essential to survival. Each brother celebrated the other and let him rule, knowing and trusting that his time would come again in perfect balance. Their balance is not an endless battle for dominance, but an endless cycling dance around each other. In this season, we're wise to celebrate the dark and take guidance from the two sacred brothers, trusting that the light will return. May your holiday be restful and restorative and balancing.
May your words bring truth into the world. May your hearts know love and your hands do justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace. As you go
Thank you so much. Yeah. I just had a bunch of chicken and now I have another thing.
She says, "This is the best thing I ever
Please join me in the spirit of contemplation in whatever way feels right with these words by Lynn Cox. We pause as the path of the sun reverses, seemingly holding its place for a moment of turning. Let us delve into the gifts of darkness of the winter solstice. We follow curiosity and contemplation down into the cold earth, taking a journey to the world below the surface. Here we find acorns cached by squirrels and chipmunks, perhaps to be food laid in store, or perhaps to become trees in the fullness of time. We find the burrows of hibernating animals, those who sleep and repair. We find seeds, including some that will not sprout unless they first wake through frost and ice. Life finds rest and renewal in the darkness. May those who are weary find comfort. May those who are struggling find meaning and companionship. May those who are injured or ill find recovery. May those who hunger find abundance. Let this be a time of healing, and may the dreams of the dark lead us to share these gifts with one another. Our imagination rises back to the surface, to life, where the cold ground meets the crisp air. Here we observe life finding its way. We observe animals eating seeds left on the ground, though the harvest is long past. We notice the migration of birds, natural movement that allows populations to find places where they can thrive. We observe the trees that appear to sleep and yet hold sap that will rise again before the spring arrives. We observe that not everything lives through the winter, and yet all that has lived returns to the earth and is transformed. Let this time be a time of resilience. May the changing seasons bring new meaning and new insights. May creativity and persistence lead us to find resources for all to share. May those who migrate find safety, and may there be good news in the wind. May transformation lead us onward. We lift our imagination in the sky to the returning sun and to the brilliant winter night. Shifting hours of light and darkness remind us that change is part of the rhythm of the universe, and so trouble does not last. Acknowledging the gifts of the darkness, we also look forward to the growing light, a change that brings glimmers of hope. We marvel at the beauty of this time, stars unobstructed by leaves, jewels of the night shining over the land, moon and meteors inspiring us to awe and multitude. Let this be a time of celebration. What joy can be found, let us hold it close, blow its embers and share its spark. We do not take for granted having come this far, and we give thanks for companions on the journey. We continue our meditation in silence. Blessed be.
The light of our chalice would soon flicker and die without the oil that nourishes its flame. Just as this flame cannot burn without oil, this religious community cannot survive or thrive without the financial as well as the personal support of its members and friends. The oil that keeps the flame of our liberal religious faith alive and fuels the shared mission and ministry of the fellowship. Let us now give freely and generously an offering to sustain and strengthen our shared religious community, a community of memory, hope, faith, and love. For we are now the keepers of its flame that burns for justice, its dream of beloved community, its vision of a world made whole. To donate online via PayPal, visit auuf.org/donate. Please indicate in the notes whether your donation is for your pledge or the offering. And if you're writing a check, make your check payable to AUUF with a note on the memo line indicating whether it is for the offering or your pledge, and drop it in the offering bowl. Or you may mail it to P.O. Box 669 Auburn 36831.
Sending up their love tonight. May the light of peace shine down into the heart of every boy and girl, and may the song be heard all around, all around the world, all around the hearts are glowing, glowing, oh so brightly. Hearts are glowing, radiant with peaceful light. All around the world, love is flowing, flowing through the music. Love is flowing, carrying on a song tonight. May the light of peace shine down into the heart of every boy and girl, and may the song be heard all around, all around the world. See the candle in the wind, see the candle in the wind tonight. The singing of the children, the singing of the children all around the world tonight, all around the world
Thank you for the gift of music. Our reading this morning is adapted from Gary Kowalski. Night has its own kind of beauty, different than the beauty of the day. Night is a time of sleep and dream and inward visions, a time of pause within activity. Darkness is an invitation to imagining and storytelling, and to using ears instead of eyes, to listen to the world in its stillness. Darkness is the den of life in germination, and darkness is the portal of death that opens to eternity. The mystery of all time past and endless time to come at the center of our being, there is light and there is darkness, the known and the unknown, the named and the nameless, the finite and infinite. Light and dark are different, but not opposed to each other. Like a mother and father, they are friends with one another and with us.
I've been meeting once a month with a dream worker, someone who helps me to look at my dreams and reflect on what they could mean in my life. And she just so happens to be a United Methodist minister. And when I met with her this week, she asked me if I had a big week ahead this next week. And I'm like, well, I'm in parish ministry, you know I do, and it's December. And I told her I kind of envy her sometimes. She only has Christmas, and I have 4 to 6 holidays to fit in. And yet, as I stand here this morning, looking at all these candles and actually feeling the warmth coming off of them, there's something appropriate about that for Solstice this morning. For centuries, people have had myths about the way light leads in the darkness. Now, modern people who seem to have become afraid of the dark often interpret this to mean that darkness is bad, that darkness needs to be expelled and feared. And yet, as our lighting reminds us this morning, lightness and darkness are not fundamentally opposed. In fact, they could not exist without each other. The old myths from pagan and indigenous cultures often saw darkness as a different sort of friend from life, who had wisdom to bring us in their own way. Darkness can be fearful. It represents the unknown, that which we don't know, what we don't know is ahead. And yet, it's unavoidable. Christian mystics have long talked about the dark night of the soul, a time when one's convictions, theologically and philosophically, are completely thrown into question, when one doesn't seem to have anything to anchor themselves onto. As the Catholic father John Culligan, a psychologist, once said, "In the dark night of spirit, there is painful awareness of one's incompleteness and imperfection." And yet, even in these dark nights, the Christian mystics believed that there was hope, because eventually the dark night would pass, but we would still have the lessons learned within. This week, we move into winter solstice, the longest night of the year. And indeed, if you've been out at 4:30 recently and seen the sun setting, you'll know what I'm talking about. It seems like the world is getting darker. When I woke up this morning, this was the coldest morning I think I've woken up to in a while. And yet, here we are together, sitting with the candles of 4 religious traditions, preparing to look inward at what is to come. Darkness brings wisdom, because darkness reminds us of all that we don't know, of all that we yearn for, and all that is possible. I'm reminded from one trip that I took when I was in southern Indiana. We went deep and dark into a dark cave in the abyss. It's somewhere that not a lot of humans have been to before just a few years ago, and some may question why we're doing it now. But I remember when our guide lit up his flashlight and shined it into the water, and there in these dark depths, where without his flashlight you can't see anything, there were creatures swimming in the water. little lizards, salamanders, that have adapted themselves to that place. And indeed, if they ever lost the darkness of the cave, they would not be able to survive in the light. Their little bodies have learned how to swim through the darkness in that place. I wonder what it would look like to swim through the darkness, to find ways of moving through, even when it feels like the light has left completely. And although there are places on earth that during the winter get absolutely no sunlight, I won't be going to be a minister there anytime soon. There is always light to be found just beyond the clouds. As we enter into this season, where is the light in darkness for you? Because I tend to think that seasons of light and seasons of darkness are kind of a little simplistically offered as metaphors. I think we're all light and darkness almost all the time. Some of my darkest times have been marked by the love of family and friends surrounding me, the joy of knowing that colleagues were holding me, the promise of finding new purpose, even when it didn't look like there was any left. Solstice is a reminder that light and dark must coexist. Indeed, I feel that it's one of the biggest social crimes of our age that so many of our cities try to dispel the darkness through overlighting. What would it look like to embrace that darkness? To find reason within it, and purpose, and even joy. What I want to say to you this morning is, if it seems like your season of darkness is greater than your season of light, surround yourself with the people who will help you and the things that will help you make it through. Don't be alone. If you direct your pain inward, it can be overwhelming. Imagine what are the things that bring you light, even in dark times. Where is the light, even when it feels like there is none? Because even in the night sky, when we turn off all those artificial lights, we see the sky dotted with reminders that light is just around the corner. The ancients saw time as cyclical. Everything comes and goes in its own season. And though we are now in a time of darkness, in just a few more months, we'll be back into a time of light. Though times may seem difficult, we can remember that change is a constant in the universe. Benjamin Franklin was wrong. Death and taxes are not the only constants in the universe. Change is always coming. And though I cannot guarantee that change will be better, maybe the very possibility of it can engender hope. I don't know what 2023 will bring. I hesitate to make predictions because I remember how well that did when I did this homily in 2019. But I do believe that the promise of community will help us to find purpose even in the darkest of times. As the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said, being human is a complicated gig, so give that old dark night of the soul a hug. Howl the eternal yes. What is your eternal yes today? Whatever it may be, may it find space to live in this coming season. May it be so. So today's service is about metaphoric cleansing and quenching of thirst at the time of solstice, setting of intention, self-anointing, healing, new beginnings, and possibilities. As worshipers have done for millennia, we will be traveling the directions today. At each stop around the circle of flame, water, oil, and light, I will invite each of you to become your own healer, your own priest or priestess, minister, teacher. It is your circle of release, cleansing, intention, and hope to walk. We'll have a reading for each direction, after which I will ask you to consider what the symbolism of that direction means to you as we end our calendar year. And though I won't be inviting you during the service to come up and travel the directions, I will leave everything set up after the service today if you would like to come up and travel the directions yourself. The South symbolizes release. Release from the things that have held us back in the past. Each of us has things each year we want to release. Pain from the last year, circumstances that haven't gone our way, disappointments we hope not to repeat. This morning, to many of your relief, I did not bring a full Yule log to burn here in the middle of the sanctuary. But instead, I'm symbolizing the Yule log with a candle to the south, to release those things back to the universe which have held us back this year. Our fire reading is by the Reverend Lois E. Van Leer. Roar through my soul, flame and fire and searing heat, burn all my fears to ash. Now send your sparks up on the breath of the wind, up to the sun, moon, and stars, snaking paths, roads for my spirit to follow, sweet, sweet release. As I light our candle to the south, I invite you to experience your own release. If you feel comfortable, I would like to invite you to call out what you are releasing this morning. If you're joining us online, you can type it into the YouTube chat box. If you do not feel comfortable, feel free to hold it in your heart.
Amber. Lori.
We hold these and release them into the universe. The West symbolizes purity. Most religious traditions have understood the element of water as the great purifier, that which wishes, clean, and makes new. It is the teacher of the mysteries of life and death. Springs, streams, rivers, creeks, lakes, pools, ponds, oceans are compassionate healers, relieving actual and metaphorical thirsts. Water in our lives is the power of purification, the healing balm of compassion, and the mystical presence of creativity. Our water reading is from Rumi. Be a full bucket pulled up the dark way of a well, then lifted out into the night. Stars burn clear. All night do that yourself, and a spring will rise in the dark with water your deepest thirst is for. As I approach the water and pour and put some on my hands, I invite you to purify yourself in the coming year. What would you like to be cleansed of? If you feel comfortable sharing, call out your cleansing yourself or type it in the YouTube chat box. We hold all of our purities in our hearts. The north symbolizes intention. What would our lives be like if we lived them with awareness and intention? An intention we can return to in any moment at any time. The new year awaits. What intention will you bring with it? Our intention reading this morning is from an unknown author. One tree can start a forest. One bird can herald spring. One smile can begin a friendship. One hand can lift a soul. One star can guide a ship to sea. One word can frame the goal. One vote can change a nation. One sunbeam can light a room. One candle can wipe out the darkness. One laugh can conquer gloom. One hope can raise our spirits. One touch can show you ease. One voice can wake up everybody. One life can make the difference. As I anoint myself with the oil, I invite you to set your intention for the coming year. What is it you want to do? If you feel comfortable sharing, call out what you are setting your intention for, or type it in the YouTube chat box. Overwork. Not from you all, from all the volunteer stuff I do. Across millennia, human beings have lit lamps or torches or candles in religious rituals. Are they prayers? Are they remembrances? Are they unspoken hopes and desires? Whatever they mean, their meaning, the lighting of candles captivates us still. Our candle reading is from Barbara King's Lover. The very least you can do in your life is to figure out what you hope for. And the most you can do is live that hope, is to live inside that hope, not admire it from a distance, but live it right now under its roof. What are your hopes for the coming year? What do you hope 2023 will bring? If you feel comfortable sharing, call out what you are hoping for or type it in the YouTube chat box. Whatever your hopes, your dreams, your intentions for this coming year, may you find them this solstice, this Christmas, this Hanukkah. I will close out our ritual today with a blessing from Jan Richardson. Go slow, friendly, dark, or fearsome, this is no place to break your neck by rushing. I do not know what these shadows ask of you, what they might hold, but this is what I can ask for you, that in the night you be encompassed by the love that knows your name. Amen, and blessed be. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, number 57 in the great hymnal, All Beautiful the March of Days.
This is one we haven't sung before, so we'll have the choir do the first verse. So you're welcome to sing it if you want, but you're also welcome to listen to it and join in the second and third verses.
And clear resounds the
Please join me in extinguishing our chalice. You will find the words in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please be our guest today after the service for our coffee hour here in the sanctuary. This is an opportunity to chat with people about the service or how your week went. If you're not signed up for our email list, please do so to receive updates about the activities of the fellowship and the ways that you can connect. You'll find information on signing up on the website auuf.org/subscribe. I don't think we have any written announcements, but I'll invite anyone who has a spoken announcement to come forward at this time and share it with everyone. Reverend Chris.
Well, as I insinuated in my homily, it's going to be a very busy week around here. And I hope you all will come participate in some things that you feel moved to. On Thursday night at 7 o'clock, we'll be having our second annual Blue Christmas service. If you don't remember from last year or you weren't here, Blue Christmas, the idea is there's a sort of enforced joyousness at this time of year. And if you don't feel like being joyful and joining in this time, this is a place you can come and be authentic with however you're feeling. And we'll have some readings and some soft music to hold that space. And then, of course, Saturday at 6 p.m. is Christmas, our annual Christmas Eve service. You'll be glad to know that after my plea last week, I now have too many musicians. So I'm fitting you all in, don't worry. But I was very happy to get all of those offers of music. So it'll be a very good service, and I hope you can come be with us. Also, this afternoon, this morning during second hour at 11:15 is Spirit in Practice. All are welcome if you're interested in exploring spiritual practices to come. It's a second hour program that we have been running on different spiritual practices. And even if you haven't come to the first three, you are welcome. So we hope you can be there in the Upper Bush Center.
It says this Blue Christmas is at 6:30.
That's incorrect. That's very incorrect.
What time is it?
7 o'clock. Thank you for catching that, Sylvia.
I wanted to give a shout out to all the folks who have birthdays in December, because I think you all get kind of forgotten. Anyway, shout out. And I'm sorry, Billy, I missed your party. I was busy doing something else, and then I was really tired and I fell asleep. Anyway, I also want to thank Cindy Ranke for this lovely tree. Much appreciated. And we're also doing decorating in the sanctuary sometime, probably after coffee hour, not during coffee hour, but we can be discussing it during coffee hour. So come see Amy, Kaiser, and myself. Oh, there she is. You left. I was going, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Anyway, let's see, am I forgetting anything else? Who? Oh, she says I'm probably forgetting something else. It's okay. I've been doing a lot of that. But that's all for now. Check with me during coffee and come help decorate after that. Or, maybe even come back after, what's that called again over next door? Second hour. After second hour, you could come back here and we'll probably still be decorating. So have fun. Oh, yeah. And ornaments are back.
The UUSC market table is open. There's cards, there's Christmas stockings, there's ornaments for your tree. Come see what's back there. If you see something you like, put a donation in the little Elvis mug and take it home with you.
Thank you.
Frequently, during Joys and Concerns, we have someone come up with an announcement, kind of, camouflage. Well, I'm doing the opposite. I'm doing some joys during announcements. First of all, the number 30 annual vining was a big success yesterday. It was a small, intimate, but great group. And I have some extra vines, grapevines from the Tuskegee University farm. So if you go up to the white F-150 pickup truck in the parking lot, I have the vines by the truck. So if you want to take some and make your own wreaths, that would be great. I even have some cotton that I gleaned from a field if you want to stick it in your vines.
Well, next time to bring it in.
Yeah, you can bring them in here. The second is, as I was coming in, I was putting the vines on the ground. A young woman was by the dumpsters over there, and she waved, and I thought, oh, it's one of our members walking by. And so I waved back, and I checked the porch for any donations for the holiday helping boxes. And as I was coming down, she came over to me, and I didn't recognize her then. And she goes, "Do you go to this church?" I said, "Yes." And she goes, "Well, she's moving, and will we take some canned donations?" And I said, "Wow, that's amazing." And so her name is Amanda, lives in number 3. She and her partner are moving to Oregon. And I said, "Oh, did you graduate?" She said, "No, she did work at the university at one time, but they just thought it was a good time in their lives to move to Oregon." And so she said that she had sometimes had to use the food bank, and she thought this might be a good way. And I said, "It's so wonderful." And it brought to mind, sometimes in class, a student will bring in food, I say, "Well, do you have enough for everybody?" And they look at me kind of, I said, "Or are you planning on doing the loaves and fishes?" And that really gets them puzzled. And then I always go, "Didn't you go to Sunday school?" Those of you who are still puzzled, you can Google it. But anyway, I sort of think of this as our loaves and fishes. It was really a wonderful thing. Thank Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amy, and along the food line, I just want to remind you all that Noriko and I are still collecting monetary donations, either via check, cash, or PayPal for Diana's Pantry. We'll be continuing through Christmas, right, Noriko? There have been some very generous donations and clever ways to donate to Diana's Pantry. So I just want to remind y'all to do that. And I'm also selling the raffle tickets for one of those creative ways to support Diana's Pantry for the $100 gift certificate for Lucy's. And Noriko and I thought we could offer that the second Sunday in January. Because of potluck, right? It's $2 for 1 ticket, $5 for 3 tickets, and that will go on as long as we're collecting for Diana's Pantry.
Hey, I'm Billy. We have fair trade coffee, chocolate, and snacks here. We just don't have a spot set up for them or a procedure for taking donations. So if anyone would like to help me with that, come find me.
Billy, where is it? Okay.
Can I get a copy of it?
The coffee person couldn't make it, so I made the coffee, so I'm sorry in advance. The coffee that is marked decaf is not decaf, it's regular coffee, and the coffee that is decaf is marked regular. And I'll move it so that it'll be separate, so you'll know. Also, because if somebody could give me a hand, also, I'd be very grateful.
I know, put the guilt by the decaf, whatever.
And just a quick reminder that the Humanist potluck is tonight, potluck and discussion starting at 5 o'clock tonight.
All right, any other announcements? Otherwise, I think it's coffee time. Remember the reversal. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to assist Reverend Chris with the service this morning. It's a wonderful perspective here to see all of you, and thank you for coming out. So now let us join in our sung benediction.
On the longest night of the year, we are warmed by the certain knowledge that tomorrow will welcome more light than today. As it has for eons, for billions of years, the coming of light brings life. May we be awed by the great miracles of light and life, and faithfully nurture the mystery and magic of wonder. Amen. Blessed be, and go in peace.